Wicked is not the only 2024 film in which the actors are singing live and which got a slew of Oscar nominations. Let's talk about the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for A Complete Unknown. This has 8 Oscar nominations, including some of the real biggies: Best Picture, Best Director, 3 acting nominations. Now, it has not won a lot of major awards yet. It got shut out at the Golden Globes, but here and there, it has picked up a few things, including Best Picture at the AARP Movies for Grown Up Awards. Boston Critics Circle awarded it a few things, and Elle Fanning won a Best Supporting Actress Award from the National Board of Review, which is interesting because she's not even one of the ones nominated for an acting category at the Oscars. That went to 3 other actors that we'll get into here momentarily. But look, this was a part of AFI's top 10 movies of the year, as well as the National Board of Reviews, and it certainly looks like it's going to be in my top 10 of the year as well. So before we launch into the specifics of A Complete Unknown, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are one of my Dan Reviews and subscribers already, thank you so much for returning. Always love having you guys aboard. But if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell too, so you get the alerts for all my video drops. I've already reviewed some of the Best Picture nominees, but certainly not all. In fact, I still need to see a couple of them, and some of them I've seen and just not reviewed yet. But we have reviews up for Wicked and Dune 2, and I think maybe 1 or 2 others. But in any event, this one is up for Best Picture. And yeah, this is, like I mentioned, a Bob Dylan biopic. It takes a look at his early career and sort of, you know, even getting in the door before he had any kind of career, up through 1965 and the Newport Folk Festival, in which he decided to go electric and blow everybody's mind. You know, the folk people were not having it. And so you have here the people who were nominated for Oscars for their acting performance. You've got Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan, Edward Norton as Pete Seeger, and Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez. And all of them, like I said, singing live. They sang on the day, and not only that, but they used a lot of the vintage stuff. They got a whole list of notes from Columbia Records, you know, in all these papers and stuff that they got, in addition to a lot of unreleased Dylan demos and recordings and stuff to kind of play off of. But they got the microphone descriptions and what brands were being used for the instruments and the mics and all of that kind of stuff, and all of that was authentic to the time period and to even specific performances. So very, very impressive, very down to the last detail. This was directed by James Mangold, who has directed some blockbusters in the X-Men franchise, and he's directed a few things over the years of note. But I think the most important thing to know for this film is that he directed Walk the Line, which was the Johnny Cash movie, and really one of the best of the music biopics, for these last 25 years or so. I mean, there've been certainly a handful of that, big top tier music biopic. I think Walk the Line certainly is a part of that Mount Rushmore, and it got some awards love, certainly, for that. But that tells me that James Mangold was probably the right man for the job for this one. And I will come out and say it, look, I'm not a huge Bob Dylan fan. I've always said that he is a great songwriter, but his singing is not very good. So mostly when people cover his songs is when I tend to like them more. And there have been a lot of really popular Bob Dylan cover songs. But this is the era of, most of his most famous tunes, happened in that sort of early to mid 60s period, when he was just, kind of getting started. And Timothée Chalamet is the perfect man for the job. He looks like him, and maybe not, out in public or whatever, but you put a pair of shades on him and tweak his hair a little bit, he's a pretty good spitting image of the 60s era Bob Dylan. But more importantly than that, he can sing, and he showcased that even more after the fact. This came out around Christmas, for the Oscar consideration and everything. But he performed just a few weeks ago on Saturday Night Live as not only the host but the musical guest, and he did a couple of Bob Dylan songs, that are lesser known but meaningful to him. And of course, SNL, other than the Ashley Simpson scandal back in the day, they always try to do live singers. They don't do to a track or anything. Timothy Chalamet can sing. And not only that, Ed Norton can sing. Who knew about that? Not me. I don't know if we've ever gotten a Norton song performance before in a movie. Certainly not like this. But Pete Seeger, one of the torchbearers of folk music in the early 60s. Admittedly, I don't know a ton about this time period. And Joan Baez, played by Monica Barbaro, I know her name, but not really a lot of her songs. Although this movie let me know that I actually do know more Joan Baez stuff than I realized. But it's just been, covered by different people down the line, and who knew it was one of her tunes. But she's great as well. I don't really know much from her, but her breakout in film, I guess, was Top Gun Maverick a couple of years ago. But she is excellent here as Joan Baez as well, both in the singing and the acting. And that is something this movie has with everybody. The singing and the acting are just really, really on point here. And Elle Fanning, she doesn't really do a lot of singing. She's more of the girlfriend. She is sort of an amalgamation because she's not specifically a real person. She goes by Sylvie Russo in the movie, but she's based on Susie Rotolo, who was Dylan's girlfriend at the time. But Dylan urged the makers of the film not to use her real name. So that's that. But she has been described as basically that exact person, just not in name. And Elle Fanning does do a good job, but look, I can see why the accolades are really shining upon those three performers, because it's just fantastic. But anyway, it was smart, I think, to focus on just this time period, because I think it's certainly the most interesting in Dylan's career. His decision to go electric, and look, this is certainly before my time. I was born in the late 70s, but even I knew that was, just liking music and stuff, I knew that was a big sort of cultural touchstone when Dylan went electric. So I'm glad they decided to just sort of focus their energy on his very early days as a young musician up through, his success and the beginning part of his second half of his career, I guess, or second act as a plugged-in musician, and how people really lost their minds at the time. And by all accounts, this is pretty accurate to what was happening. Now, not everything is, of course, and there is actually a Johnny Cash in this movie as well, played by Boyd Holbrook. I thought that was kind of interesting, since our director here, Mangold, already did the Johnny Cash biopic. And there's a few other names that you may know from that time period, like Woody Guthrie, but it's focusing really mostly on sort of those three, and then the Elle Fanning character as the girlfriend. But look, this one blew me away. Timothy Chalamet, I think, is easily one of the best up-and-coming actors around. I would say of the Best Picture nominees that I've seen thus far, even the ones I haven't reviewed yet, my favorite two are Timothy Chalamet movies, Dune 2 and this one. This just was such an interesting movie that I didn't expect, and mainly because I don't really love Bob Dylan's music, so it's kind of like, well, who cares? Yes, it's an interesting time period in music history for sure, but am I going to really be invested with this? And boy, was I. James Mangold, he is, I guess, the man for the job if you want to do a really well done music biopic. I will leave A Complete Unknown with an A. It is up for 8 Oscars. Like I said, this one actually might get shut out because I don't think it's really the favorite in any of these categories. But I think definitely worthy of those nominations. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time. Bye.